Hey, I'm Molly Pesci, and this is Barnes & Noble Tagged. The calendar may state June 21st as the first day of summer, but I say summer starts when you dive into your first great beach read. And we've got all the tags to fill up your beach bag, beginning with an author who is a must for summer reading, Jane Green. British-born writer Jane Green is considered one of the first authors of the Chiclet movement. And until she began writing, she was one of those chicks you read about, a gal about town working as an entertainment journalist. But Jane's desire to write fiction won out, and her first novel, Straight Talking, got readers talking. The international bestseller Jemima J followed. As we chicks have matured, so has the nature of her books. The Other Woman addressed the role of mother-in-laws in a marriage. Babyville, motherhood, and Second Chance looked at midlife crisis. Last year's offering, The Beach House, was an instant New York Times bestseller. And Jane Green is here today to christen the beginning of summer with her latest book, Dune Road. Jane Green, you've been tagged. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm very intrigued because you were really there for the start of Chiclet. You were one of the first authors that, admitted this is what I'm writing, this is what I like to do. What do you think are the qualities that a book needs to fit into that genre?
Well, I think it's changed enormously. I think in the beginning when we started writing it, we didn't think we were writing Chiclet. I was writing just the book that I needed to write at the time, and it happened to be a book about a single woman who was looking for Mr. Right and living in London. And of course, it came out about 3 or 4 months after a book called Bridget Jones's Diary, and so the media seized upon this, and there were a couple of other people as well, and it became this genre, and they termed it Chiclet. And I think there were no rules, but it was assumed that Chiclet was commercial women's fiction, usually about a single girl and living in an urban environment and wearing great shoes. And it's in some ways that has done it a massive disservice, because this is now, when I wrote my first book, that was 13 years ago, and I'm a very different person now, and I'm writing very different books.
Your first books were about these carefree single girls, but now the women in your books are women, and they're dealing with divorce, and they're dealing with children. Tell me about making that transition.
Well, I've always written about kind of life as I experience it. I'm never writing my story. I'm never writing entirely about my life, but I'm certainly drawing upon the things that are going on in my life. And I've moved from being the single girl when I first started to getting married, having children, getting divorced, and all the relationships and challenges that life throws at you. And as a woman as a 40-something woman.
I know how you feel.
I'm not going to be writing about single girls looking for Mr. Right, because that's not my world anymore.
And it's great in the book too, because you do have so many. Yoga is becoming such a great thing, and I love how a lot of the action took place around the yoga studio. It was a great image for.
Well, the two things that I loved writing about in this book were, I love the yoga. I love anything that to me captures the zeitgeist, kind of captures what I'm experiencing at the time. So I love the yoga, and I liked writing about the whole financial state of the world.
We're talking, today all about summer reading, summer books. What's going to be in your beach bag?
Well, I've just actually heard from somebody here about this book called Perfection, and a memoir, which sounds fascinating. So I can't wait to get my hands on that. I have very eclectic tastes. I read a little bit of everything. So hopefully I will manage to have some time to actually read.
Well, the book is called Dune Road. It is out right now, and I absolutely loved it.
Thank you.
And you are delightful. Thank you so much,
Thank
Jane,
you,
for being
Molly.
with us on Tagged. Here's a Tagged close-up. Staycation is the mood of the nation. So even if the closest you get to the beach may be your kiddie pool, you can still get in touch with your inner dude. This book will get you stoked, and the pictures will leave you wondering, how did they get that gnarly photo? Surf's up, dude. When Chris Burkhart, a talented photographer, teams up with writer and gnarly surfer Eric Soderquist, they quit jobs, pack their boards, and surf their way down the California coast, capturing it all in the California Surf Project. Their travel diary begins as they caught the waves along Highway 1, from the Oregon border to the Tijuana Sloughs, and discovered everything the Golden State's legendary coastline has to offer. Relive their incredible adventure of surfing perfect waves, sharing campfires with total strangers, and keeping the VW bus running with duct tape and prayers. There are more than 200 gorgeous color photographs, soulful text, and a professionally produced 30-minute DVD. Even landlubbers will be hanging 10 fingers around this read all summer long. And that's our Tag Close-Up. Each week, we comb through the vast offerings in the world of books. And this week, you're going to be yelling beach blanket bingo because I've got all the top tags to fill your beach bag. Sitting sweet at number 5 is LA Candy, the first offering from The Hills reality TV star Lauren Conrad. LA Candy is served up as a fictional story about two LA newbies who end up in a reality show about their lives. It's filled with BFFs, frenemies, and of course, LOLs. Fighting its way to number 4 is Knockout, from #1 New York Times bestselling author Catherine Coulter. FBI agents Dylan Savage and Lacey Sherlock are back again in this electrifying thriller. This time, they are tangled up in a web that includes a 7-year-old telepathic girl who can answer whodunit if they can only keep her alive. It's checkmate for number 3 as Queen Takes King. Sassy, brassy screenwriter novelist Gigi Lavangi Grazer has created a novel in which the War of the Roses meets the Real Housewives of New York as a 25-year society marriage comes to pieces on the cover of the New York Post. Stirring it up at number 2 is Trouble. Award-winning author Kate Christensen brings us the tale of 40-something girlfriends on a wild adventure. Trouble's compelling plot will keep readers turning pages, even as clouds of tension and despair drift ever closer. Floating in at number 1 is The Angel's Game. This is the gothic semi-prequel to Carlos Ruiz Zafón's The Shadow of the Wind. Set in 1920s Barcelona, pauper turned popular pulp fiction novelist David Martin accepts a commission to write a story that leads him into danger and leads readers into a labyrinth in which the victim is sometimes the villain and vice versa. And those are my top tags for this week. Wow, isn't that amazing? You can hear the ocean. It's official. Beach reading season has begun. Enjoy. See you next time on Barnes & Noble Tag.